Hi all, these are the knowledge series for Office 365 administration. So the topic which we are going to cover will be conditional access. What is conditional access, how it works, use cases for better understanding of conditional access, advantages and the demo which will explain how we can apply those policies. What is conditional access? Conditional access brings signals together to make decisions and enforce organizational policies. So here the signals are users, location, application, devices and so on. So on these signals the decisions are made whether they are allowed to access the organizational data or not. In simple terms, the conditional access is the if-then statements. If user wants to access a resource, then they must complete an action which is given by the administrator. So here the administrator have the control like what Office 365 application user can gain access to based on if they fail certain conditions. Even the conditional access is not available with all the Office 365 licenses. They are basically available in business premium licenses. How the conditional access works. So Azure Active Directory conditional access analyzes the signals such as user, location, device to automate decision and enforce organizational access policies. So these policies allows you to build the conditions that manage security control and can block the access and also give the required multi-factor authentication or restrict the user when needed to stay out of the user's way when not. Here is the basic overview of conditional access. So the conditional access requires users to meet specific conditions before they grant access to company resources, and their access can also be blocked or can be given need to go through multi-factor authentication, and if they passes the conditional access policies, then they are allowed to access the data. Here are the use cases for conditional access. First use case is for application. So here in this case there might be some apps that have unique scenarios that carries risk. For example, sending messages with sensitive content in apps like Microsoft Teams. So in that case it requires some policies to be applied. So here the organization may have many cloud applications, and not all of those applications may require equal kind of security. For example, the payroll and the attendance applications may require multi-factor authentication, but the cafeteria probably not. So here, accordingly, the administrator can choose to exclude specific application from their policy. The admin can give access to user based on applications via that is end user who can access only Office apps and cannot upload and download any data from the SharePoint or so on. Conditional access for devices. Conditional access is used by companies to protect and manage the devices used by their employee. So here the policies can be like the IT admin would set the following conditions. Like if the known user tries to log in from a compliant device and a whitelisted IP address, then they may bypass the multi-factor authentication challenge. If the known user tries to log in from an unmanaged device and from a whitelisted IP address, then they must complete a multi-factor authentication challenge. And also, if the known user tries to log in remotely without a VPN, then they will be denied to have the access. Conditional access for user. So So here the user will be one of the signals from which the decision can be taken. The conditional access policies can be applied on group of user, guest users, or even on based on directory roles. For example, organization can select the user or group to give the access to selected apps, location, and also the other policies. So accordingly, they will be given the access or go through multi-factor authentication, or even the access can be blocked. Conditional access policy based on user location. So with this location condition, you can control the access of your cloud apps based on network location of user. Let's say the organization can use this location for common tasks. Like if the user is outside the corporate network, then he will need to go through the multi-factor authentication, and if he passes the condition, then he can successfully access the data. But if the IT admin have applied some policies for some particular country's region or IP address cannot access the data, in that case it might go to the access can be blocked. Advantages of conditional access: it basically protects user account with strong authentication that's based both on location and risk, protects data as it allows only managed devices to have the access, meets compliance requirement, strikes a balance between security and productivity, helps to enforce fine control with policies such as encryption. Now we will understand how conditional access policies can be applied. You will need to log into your admin account. Once you logged in, you will need to go to the admin center. Then Azure Active Directory. Once you go to Azure Active Directory, just you will need to click on Azure Active Directory once. Here you will get the security options. Just need to click on security, and in security you will get the conditional access option. So you just need to click on the new policy, and over there you can create the policy. Once you click on new policy, you will get the conditional access policy screen. You will just need to enter the name to the policy. Then the second comes the user or workload. You will need to select the user. You can also include or exclude the user accordingly. You can also go for all user, none of them, or select according to user or groups. For guest user, that is an external user, directory roles. In user section, if you click on user and role, from here you can search for the particular user which you want to select and just click on select option. The same way I have selected one user. Then comes the cloud applications or the actions. On which applications do you want to take the actions? That means you have to apply the policy. So from here you can do for you can go for all the cloud applications at a time or none of them, and also select the particular applications. So right now I have selected Microsoft Teams. So once you click on select applications, you get the option where you can search for the applications which you want and just click on select option. Below are the conditions, which conditions you want to apply. So there is you can set the user risk based on multi-factors like high, medium, low. Same way you can give the sign-in risk, device platforms, from which platform you will be accessing the application. Then on the location wise, any location, all trusted location. So here you can give your IP addresses range. So accordingly those will be considered as your all trusted locations, or select the location if you want to give any location. The same way comes the control access. So from here, you can control your access, whether you want to block the access or grant the access. And even if you are granting the access, do you want the user to go through multi-factor authentication, or its device should be marked as compliant? And below are also the more options which you can apply. And once it is done, you need to click on select. Then comes the session. Over here, you can also select the session like user app enforced restrictions, user conditional access, app control, sign-in frequency, and so on. Once it is done, you can just enable your policy by if you want to keep your policy off, you can select that mode, you can select the on mode, or you can also keep it on report only mode. Once it is done, you can say save. You can click on save and you can save these policies. And on conditional access screen, you will get your policy. And if you want to apply some if-then statements, you can also go and apply the if-then statement. You can select the user for the if-then statement. Same way, you can select the application, provide the IP address from where you want to rectify if the user is going to log in from the particular IP address, and if you want to block the access for those addresses. Then same way, the device from where the user is going to access the application, device state, sign-in risk, like you can select accordingly, user risk, high, low, medium, and same the server principal risk. Once it is done, you can click on what if statement. It also shows you which policy falls in what if, and what policies will not fall in what if statements, and you can enable the what if on the same policies. As we have applied the policy for that is the restriction policy for Teams application for particular user, and also the location policy, that is from the particular IP address. If the user is trying to access that application, then his or her access will be blocked. So we will just log in and check. Once you logged into the account, you can see we have just restricted the user for accessing the Teams app. So once we click on Teams, it shows us that notification that your account is blocked. So this is how we can apply the policies for applications and the location, like IP address, according to IP address, which user can access which applications and from which IP addresses. The same way, if the user is trying to access other applications rather than Teams, he can easily access those applications, as we have only given restriction for Teams application. This is how you can apply the policies based on user, location, application, devices, and so on. So conditional access helps the admin to keep his data secure by applying the various policies. Thank you.